previous video, we looked at creating a question type of number and calculated, which allowed answers to be mathematical expressions, but without variables. Now we're going to take a look at creating question types that are algebraic expressions or functions, meaning our answers can be mathematical expressions, including variables. Whenever we do this, we need to first start off by defining the variables that can exist in our answer. X is included as a default, but if we want any variables besides X, we would need to list those separated by commas and a set of single quotation marks. So for instance, X, comma Y, comma F, comma G, and so on for any other letters that will exist in the answer students will input. If those variables aren't defined here, the system won't understand those. Again, X is included as a default, so if everything's just in terms of X, we can skip that step. Our answer will be defined as some mathematical expression that could include variables contained inside a set of parentheses, something like x squared or x squared plus x to the fourth. We could also include trig statements and other mathematical expressions. We can also include the option to have multiple correct answers by separating statements like these with or statements. Now, x squared or x to the fourth or cosine of x would be an acceptable answer for this problem. Something we do need to be careful about though with this is that MyOpenMath will accept any algebraically equivalent answer. So for instance, if our answer is x squared, then x times x would also be accepted as an answer. There is an option that we can include to help deal with that, and it's typing in $require times. What this does is allow us to define certain numbers, characters, symbols that have to appear in the answer and dictate how many times those values should appear. For instance, if the answer should be x squared and we don't want students to enter x times x, we could set this equal to, in a set of quotation marks, the letter x, comma, equals 1. So this statement means that the answer can only have an x appear once in the student's answer. For different types of answers, we could change what this statement says. For instance, we could have this be set equal to 0 if we never wanted x to appear. We could have it be set to greater than 1 or greater than or equal to 1 if we wanted at least one instance, or at least more than one instance if it was greater than. So we can use any equality or inequality statement here to define how often that character should appear. Something we do need to look out for though is if we use a number, for instance 3, and say 3 should only appear once in our answer, then an answer like 3 plus 13x, even if that's the correct answer, would be counted wrong, because the system would look for the 3 that occurred, and then it would see a second 3 that occurred. So this statement would block 3 plus 13x as a correct answer. So if you use this require times feature, it's just something that you want to test multiple iterations, multiple variations, how students might enter answers to make sure it's accepting things correctly. We could modify this statement as one method for solving this to put 3 greater than or equal to 1. And that would allow both instances of 3 and 13. If we had additional statements that we wanted to include in here, so for instance, we wanted 3 to occur at least once, and we wanted x to only occur once, we could add another comma. And now this next pair of items that we enter will be related to this second value of x. So we could say x equal to 1. So we can chain together multiple statements, multiple values or symbols that we want to require. We can also include the answer format option. This is necessary if the answer is going to be an equation. So for instance, instead of x squared being the answer, if we wanted f of x equals x squared to be the answer, we would need this equation statement. We could also include inequality if the answer was going to be an inequality statement. Without those, putting the equal sign into the answer or the inequality symbol will break a student's answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this would look from the student perspective. We'll put that answer box in the question text. And what we should be typing here is f of x equals x squared. What we type in automatically gets forwarded into a math type, or we can use these different tools to enter those values. And we can click submit. Oh, and because I still have this require time statement, this is breaking. So let's go back and get rid of that statement about 3 being required. Now we should be able to enter f of x equals x squared. And I'm still getting an incorrect answer. And I think what's happening is because I have x appearing twice in my answer, I'm not paying good attention to what I'm doing as I'm typing. So I need, in this case, x to appear at least once, or I could go ahead and say twice since I'm going to have that f of x statement and x squared. So now that we have that required time statement set up to match the correct input, that answer is being accepted, we can click the key icon to see that answer as well. So I don't really love it when I make mistakes in videos, but in this case, this is kind of a nice scenario where I showed some difficulty applying that require times option, and why we just need to make sure we're testing our questions to verify that we're able to enter the correct answer.